Welcome back to The Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today I am joined by our resident film analyst.
Hey, it's great to be here.
So, we spend a lot of time in our culture really romanticizing the idea of the couple. You know, we have these phrases we just toss around.
Right, like my better half.
Exactly, my better half, or we complete each other, or the really big one, two becoming one.
Which is supposed to be sweet.
Yeah, it's meant to be the ultimate goal, right? To find that person who makes you whole. But today, we are looking at a source that takes that metaphor, drags it into the woods, throws it into a muddy pit, and just turns it into absolute biological nightmare fuel.
It really does.
We are, of course, talking about the viral film Together 2025.
It is certainly a film that makes you want to rethink your wedding vows.
Totally.
It's rare to find a story that takes a concept as abstract as commitment and translates it into something so visceral and, frankly, medically horrifying.
Horrifying is definitely the right word. If you haven't seen the chatter online, you guys, this movie has been blowing up because of its incredibly strange premise.
Oh, yeah.
It follows a couple, Tim and Millie, who go for a hike and undergo this bizarre physical transformation that literally, and I do mean literally, binds them together.
But it's not just a gross out flick.
No, not at all. So what's our mission today?
Well, on the surface, it's a body horror movie, right? Kind of in the vein of Cronenberg's The Fly. But if you look at the source material and the critical analysis we've pulled for this deep dive, it's actually a really sharp treatise on forced intimacy.
Forced intimacy, I like that phrase.
Yeah, it asks this terrifying question of what happens when you physically cannot get away from your partner? What happens to your identity when the me is forcibly replaced by the we?
So our goal today is to unpack all of this. We're going to look at the central mystery of the puddle water, which is way more sinister than it sounds.
Much more.
We're going to figure out what is up with their creepy neighbor, Jamie. And we're going to break down exactly why some people in this movie turn into screaming monsters, while others find this weird kind of zen.
It is quite a journey, from awkward tension to biological horror, and then to a very strange kind of peace.
Let's jump right into the setup. The movie doesn't start with a couple, though. It starts with the canary in the coal mine, or in this case, the dogs in the woods.
Right, the cold open. It's a classic thriller setup. You have this search team in the American wilderness, and you have these two very clever, very distinct dogs running ahead.
And they find this massive, ancient-looking pit in the ground.
Exactly. And at the bottom of the pit, there's a puddle.
Just a puddle.
Well, normally a puddle is just a puddle, but the cinematography here does a great job of making it look heavy. Viscous, almost.
And because dogs have zero sense of self-preservation, they go down and drink it.
Which is a crucial moment. It establishes the rules of the film without any dialogue at all. The dogs drink the water, they climb out, but then they stop acting like dogs. They don't shake off the water or sniff around. They just stand there, staring at each other in this uncanny synchronization.
And the payoff for that scene comes a bit later, which I think is just brilliant structuring.
Oh, the cages.
Yes. The search team finds the dogs in their cages later on, and they aren't two dogs sitting side by side anymore. They have fused into a single entity.
It creates the immediate sense of dread for the viewer. We know the stakes before we even meet the protagonists.
We know biology is malleable here.
Exactly. If you ingest the catalyst, the boundaries between organisms just dissolve.
Which brings us to our human victims, Tim and Millie. If those dogs were a blank slate, Tim and Millie are walking, talking relationship baggage.
They really are the definition of it's complicated. The film goes out of its way to show us that they are structurally unsound as a couple before they even get to the woods.
There's that flashback to the party.
The failed proposal.
Oh man, that scene made me want to crawl under my desk. Millie decides to make a grand gesture, so she proposes to Tim in front of everyone.
And Tim treats it like a joke.
He totally freezes, he laughs, he plays it off like a bit. It is so awkward.
It's a defense mechanism, but it's devastating to watch. You see Millie just crumble. But it establishes the dynamic perfectly. Millie is pushing for connection for that next step, and Tim is avoidant.
He's a guitarist, right? He's focused on his band's tour. He's looking for a way to keep things light.
He's actively resisting the we.
So they move into this new house together, not as a happy couple, but as two people walking on eggshells. The resentment is palpable.
You can cut the tension with a knife.
And to fix this massive emotional rift, they decide to do what all people in horror movies do to fix their problems. go for a hike in the woods without a map.
And nature immediately punishes them for it. The environment in the film is incredibly hostile.
There are those disorienting bells hanging from the trees.
Yes, the bells. The rain starts pouring down, they lose their bearings, and Tim, lacking any survival instincts, falls right into that same pit the dogs found.
Millie tries to help him and falls in too. So now they are trapped. No cell service, no food, just tension and mud. And Tim gets thirsty.
This is the point of no return. There's that clear puddle in the pit. Tim is desperate, so he drinks it. He even fills his water bottle with it.
Now, the sources point out a really interesting distinction here. Millie falls in the pit, she's covered in the mud, she's breathing the vapors.
Right.
But Tim actually ingests the water. He puts it inside his system.
Exactly. They're both exposed to the environment, which initiates the process, but Tim becomes the primary carrier. He brings the biological catalyst directly into his body.
It saves them in the moment because it gives him the energy to climb out, but the clock has started ticking.
And before we get to the body horror, we have to talk about the foreshadowing back at their house.
The rats.
The rats. This is a detail that adds so much texture to the world building. Even before the hike, Tim noticed a weird smell in the new house.
And after the hike, he investigates it. He checks a lamp and finds a cluster of rats.
But not just a nest of rats, they're fused.
It's a rat king situation, but at a cellular level, they're this singular, writhing lump of fur and limbs. It is so gross.
But it's important because it confirms that this isn't a curse specifically targeting Tim and Millie because of their relationship problems.
It's an environmental hazard.
It's nature. If you are biological and you are in this zone and you touch,
you merge.
It depersonalizes the horror, which somehow makes it scarier.
So the morning after the hike, this is where the movie shifts gears from a tense thriller to a full-on medical nightmare. They wake up and their legs are touching.
Normal couple stuff.
But when they try to get out of bed, they can't.
The description of this scene is visceral. It's not like they're tied together. It's like their skin has become adhesive.
The sweat and the skin oils have created a bond.
They have to physically rip themselves apart to get out of bed.
It sounds like duct tape coming off a hairy arm, but worse, and it leaves them raw and bleeding. This is the first symptom, contact fusion.
But it's not just physical stickiness.
Yeah.
It starts affecting their motor functions.
This is where the metaphor of control really kicks in.
Later that day, Millie is sore from the hike, so she asks Tim for a massage. Tim starts working on her shoulders. But then, his hands stop obeying his brain.
This scene terrified me more than the gore, honestly. Tim is massaging her, and suddenly his grip tightens.
He's hurting her.
He's bruising her skin, and he's shouting, "I can't stop."
It's the loss of agency. His conscious mind wants to be gentle, but his biological imperative, driven by the water, wants to merge.
His body is trying to crush the space between them.
It's aggressive. It frames intimacy as a violation of consent, even when it's your own body doing it.
And then the laws of physics just decide to take a day off entirely. We get the magnetism phase.
Right. It escalates from sticky skin to a gravitational pull. Tim tries to stay home while Millie goes to her teaching job.
But he literally can't.
His body starts dragging him out the door.
The imagery here is so chaotic. He's bouncing down the street, slamming into the pavement, getting pulled behind her car like he's attached by an invisible bungee cord.
It's ridiculous, but it's also the film's way of visualizing codependency.
Oh, that's a great point.
You know that feeling when you're in a consuming relationship and you feel like you can't breathe without the other person?
Yeah.
The film makes that literal. Gravity no longer applies to Tim. Only Millie applies to Tim. He revolves around her.
And as they get forced closer together, the intimacy becomes incredibly invasive. There's the kiss scene. They try to just have a quick makeup peck and their mouths fuse shut.
It perverts a symbol of love into a trap.
But the one that really got me was the hair. They are sleeping, or trying to sleep, and Millie wakes up because her scalp hurts.
She turns on the light.
And Tim has been, well, eating her hair.
Absorbing it. It's deep down his throat. And when they panic and pull apart, he rips out huge clumps of her hair.
It's deeply violating.
It shows that the merging process doesn't care about anatomy or pain. It just wants biomass to combine. Doesn't care if it hurts you to become one.
Which leads to the absolute peak of social horror in the film, the high school bathroom scene.
It is the nightmare scenario.
Tim, dragged by this magnetic pull, has followed Millie to her school. They hide in a bathroom stall to try and figure out what to do, and in the cramped space, they touch.
And they get stuck.
And not just their hands or knees this time, their private parts fuse through their clothes.
They're literally locked together, groin to groin, in a high school bathroom stall.
The shame factor is off the charts.
It forces them into total vulnerability. They can't run, they can't hide, and of course they get caught.
Enter Jamie. We need to talk about Jamie. He's their neighbor, he's a senior teacher at the school, and he walks in on them.
Now, Millie has to think fast. She lies. She tells Jamie she's having severe period cramps, and Tim is just helping her through the pain.
It's a desperate lie, but it explains why they are huddled together and why she's sweating and in agony.
And Jamie accepts it.
He's almost too understanding, right? He doesn't ask questions. He just gives them this look and lets them go.
Jamie is a fascinating character because he's hiding in plain sight. Earlier in the film, he told them he was single. He said he was divorced because he and his wife fought too much.
But the deep dive analysis points out a visual clue that changes everything. Jamie wears 2 wedding rings.
One on his ring finger and one on his pinky.
So the theory is he's not divorced.
The theory, which the film pretty much confirms by the end, is that Jamie is a successful fusion.
Wow.
He didn't leave his wife, he became her, or she became part of him. When he says they fought too much, he might mean they fought the process, or perhaps he means they fought until they finally merged.
That makes his nice neighbor act so much creepier. He knows exactly what is happening to Tim and Millie. He's watching them go through the symptoms.
He's not just a bystander, he's a recruiter. He's the end state they are heading toward. He represents the success story of this cult-like biological phenomenon.
So Tim and Millie are spiraling. They're terrified. Millie goes to Jamie's house to apologize for the awkward bathroom encounter, and Tim goes back to the pit to try and find a cure.
And this is where the lore really expands. Tim finds carvings in the pit, ancient depictions of 2 people melting into one.
This isn't a new accident, it's an ancient ritual.
Exactly. And at Jamie's house, Millie sees a documentary playing on the TV. It's about a cult that used that specific pit to marry couples.
But not marriage like a tax break, marriage like biological unification.
Jamie believes in this. He drops the act when he's with Millie. He tries to recruit her. He tells her to stop fighting it, to accept the union.
He sees their struggle, the pain, the ripping skin as just unnecessary resistance.
While Millie is fighting off the cultist neighbor, Tim finds the worst-case scenario in the woods. He finds the hikers the dogs were looking for.
We need to describe this thing because it is haunting. It is not a person anymore.
No, it's a monstrosity. It's a chaotic, asymmetrical lump of flesh. 2 heads, limbs in the wrong places, screaming in constant agony.
It's like their bodies melted together but didn't mix properly.
This is the film's central thesis statement right here. Why did they turn into that while Jamie looks like a normal guy with an extra ring?
The expert analysis suggests it comes down to resistance.
This couple likely panicked. They fought the process. They didn't love each other, or they were terrified. They tried to tear themselves apart while the biology was pulling them together.
So the resistance created the monster.
Yes.
It's a physical manifestation of a toxic fighting relationship. If you fight the commitment but are forced to stay together, you become a monster.
Precisely. The biology responds to the psychological state. Friction creates chaos. Acceptance creates symmetry.
That brings us to the climax. Tim and Millie are at the breaking point. They've tried everything.
They tried sleeping in different rooms, but the magnetism just launches them through glass doors to get back together.
They are bleeding, bruised, terrified. Millie even tries to use a box cutter at one point.
It's a desperate moment.
Yeah.
She is so terrified of losing herself that she is willing to slice into her own partner to create separation.
But it doesn't work. The pull is too strong. They meet in the woods. They are about to slam into each other with bone-breaking force.
If they fight it, they'll end up like the screaming lump in the dirt.
So Tim makes a choice, and it's the most romantic, horrifying choice in the movie.
He stops pulling away.
He plays music on his phone. He asks Millie to dance.
It's surrender. It's absolute acceptance. He realizes they cannot win against the biology. The only way to survive the fusion, to embrace it.
To synchronize their movements so they don't tear each other apart.
As they dance, the merging accelerates. But because they aren't fighting, because they are moving in rhythm, it's not violent, it's seamless.
The visual language shifts here, too. It stops being body horror and starts looking almost angelic, symmetrical.
They're losing their individual forms, their faces are blending, but they're creating something stable.
They cease to be Tim and Millie. They become them.
And the film ends with the most unsettling happily ever after I've ever seen. Millie's parents come to visit the new house a few days later.
They knock on the door, expecting to see their daughter and her boyfriend. And who answers?
The new entity. It's a being that is perfectly fused. It has elements of both of them. It's not a monster screaming in pain. It's calm. It's peaceful.
And the parents? Do they scream? Do they run?
The movie cuts to black right as the door opens. But the entity seems happy to see them. It has achieved the cult's goal, a perfect union.
But as a viewer, I didn't feel happy. I felt a deep sense of loss.
Because the cost was their humanity. They survived, yes. They aren't in pain, yes. But Tim is gone. Millie is gone. There's only the union.
So let's look at the big picture here. This movie is using puddle water and body horror to talk about the fear of commitment.
It's arguing that in any deep relationship, you lose a part of yourself. That is inevitable. You change, you compromise.
Right.
If you fight that loss, if you cling too tightly to your single self while trying to be in a partnership, you create conflict. You create the monster.
But if you surrender completely,
you achieve peace, but you cease to exist as an individual. You become a function of the relationship.
that is a bleak binary. It's basically saying endure the pain of separation or accept the death of the ego.
It suggests that a perfect relationship, the kind we idolize with two become one, is actually a form of suicide. You have to kill your ego to truly merge with another person.
Jamie is happy, but Jamie isn't a person anymore. He's a compound organism.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to stay single for a while after watching this. I like my own space. I like having my own ring finger.
Just avoid the puddles and you'll be fine.
It really does make you look at the phrase my better half differently.
It's not a metaphor in 2025. It's a medical diagnosis.
So here is a thought for you listening to this deep dive. Think about your own connections for a second. When you say we in a relationship, where do you draw the line? Is the goal of love to become one? Or is the goal to remain two people walking side by side?
It's a tough balance.
It really is. And if you had to choose between being a lonely individual or a peaceful, fused entity, which would you pick? Or is there a secret third option where we get to merge without erasing who we were before we met? Something to mull over.
I think I'd take the loneliness. I like my elbows where they are.
I think I'm with you. Check your water sources, everyone. And maybe don't go hiking without a map. Thanks for diving in with us.
Stay safe.